1373. Now, first promised in 1946 and then again in 1986, Badgerys Creek Airport will be finally open by the end of 2026, a couple of years' time. And it is, of course, the new Nancy Bird Walton Airport at Badgerys Creek. But while the construction continues, an environmental impact statement for preliminary flight paths have been released today. And this is by Catherine King's office, the Transport Minister in Canberra. So all that means is who is going to be affected the worst by the aircraft noise? Of course, there is no curfew. Melissa McIntosh, the federal member for Lindsay, is on the line for us. Melissa, thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me on, Chris.
So what does it tell us today, the EIS?
It tells us that the infrastructure minister's trying to hoodwink Western Sydney again with her usual underhanded Labor tactics. She released this the morning after the US election when she probably thought no one was paying attention. And the reason why this is important is because there was over 8,400 submissions to the draft EIS, which she released under the cover of darkness in midnight a few months ago. But it doesn't look like she's taken into consideration any of the submissions, particularly from the most impacted community, which is my community, yet flight paths have been moved from her Labor colleagues' electorate. So we're really asking for answers from the Minister.
Okay. Look, I understand you're angry and I know the politics of it, but we'll just leave the politics aside for a second because I think this information is important for people. So you're saying that in Macquarie, which is the Blue Mountains, the flight paths have been moved somewhat and instead it will go straight over sort of Penrith, St Clair, St Mary's area.
The St Mary's, Penrith area is the most impacted area, 220 flights a day, 18 different flight paths. The issue that I have with this is that it is political, Chris. It is every bit about politics because there's only one community that has had any shift in flight paths, and that is the Labor seat of Macquarie. We are really, really asking the Minister just to give us fair and balanced flight paths. People actually support the airport in Western Sydney for the jobs it will bring, for the opportunities it will bring our kids. It's not about that. It's about flight paths being fair and communities being listened to. But it doesn't look like Catherine King cares about Western Sydney at all.
How sure are you that it's political?
Well, when you have 8,400 submissions and none of those submissions have been considered, we have no changes, yet there's been a change only to one community. It really is thinking of politics. Some of the things we are...
How do you come to that conclusion?
Because there's been no other changes anywhere else except for over a Labor electorate. And there's been very, very considered submissions. So there's around 90 homes that will have some form of noise mitigation within a zone. If the home is out, that they are around the Twin Creeks area in the immediate vicinity of the airport. But if you're out of that zone and you still have that same amount of noise impact, you don't get any noise mitigation. So we asked the Minister to consider that in the EIS, but there's thousands of pages in this EIS. We'll have to look through all of it. We only got it today. But it looks like there'll be no changes there. It looks like there'll be no changes to any other community except for that one I just mentioned. And, I think it's pretty fair.
On the Hawkesbury?
In the Blue Mountains.
In the Blue Mountains, okay.
In the Blue Mountains.
Okay.
So the communities of Emu Plains, of Penrith and all across Western Sydney will be bearing the brunt of these flight paths.
All right, Melissa, I appreciate you coming on. Look, it's a hard thing, and 220 planes a day, that is a lot, and without 24 hours, no curfew. Without a doubt, it's going to be difficult for people, but... Look, as someone who lives under a flight path and has done for a number of years now, you do get used to it, albeit, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, it's loud. It is loud. And if you're going to build an airport and you support the airport, then unfortunately there's noise that comes with the airport. Now, the debate was run and lost around the curfew, so I don't know what to say. I appreciate you coming on, though.
Thanks, but it's not Marrickville. You've lived there for a long time. I think the people of Western Sydney don't know what's coming. So
no, I agree with you. And, it takes some time to get used to. No question about that. That's Melissa McIntosh, the federal member for Lindsay, who I've got high regard for, mind you. High regard. It's difficult it is difficult for people, especially if you've got kids or you're elderly or whatever it is. And you've got aircraft flying over 200 odd times a day, right over the top of your house, it's loud. It is loud. But again, comes with the territory. We're building an airport. 131873.
Opinions that matter. News you can trust. This is Drive on Sydney's 2GB.
Well, the Albanese government's handling